Hello, this is John Paval with Access Arts Live weekly roundup of what I call the big guns, orchestra works, opera, theater, and anything else that's performed on a large stage by a lot of people. This week we have a great selection of shows to tell you about. Not a lot, only four, but the four that I have to tell you about are all highly interesting and very much worth your taking some time to tune into. This is a good year for lovers of Puccini and his operas. It's the centenary of the death of Puccini, which means they'll be playing a lot of them. And this week is a good week for you if you're one of those Puccini lovers, or if you'd like to discover Puccini. Stage Plus is live streaming an excellent Puccini opera, Tosca, tonight in Europe, Monday, October 21st. And then on Thursday, October 24th, the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra will be live streaming an evening of Puccini arias for you. Let's start out and talk about the live stream of Daniel Harding conducting for the first time. Here's a picture. You won't get this on Instagram, but you'll get it on our other streams. Daniel Harding is going to be conducting Tosca for the first time. He's doing so partly as the centenary of Puccini's death, but he's also doing it because he's the new music director of the orchestra and choir of the Accademia di Santa Cecilia. And this is part of the celebrations that they're putting on for the 100th anniversary of the composer's death. He has a terrific cast. I've got a picture up there for you. That's Italian soprano Eleonora Buratto as Tosca. That's and then the American tenor, the younger guy, Jonathan Tetelman, singing Cavaradossi. And then the French baritone, the much more experienced, has been around a lot longer, Ludovic Tézier, singing the role of Baron Scarpia, the brutal chief of police who proves to be the undoing for this couple. Let me tell you a little bit more about each of the three of these. Il Folio said that Eleonora is, quote, the most precious and complete soprano that the Italian school has produced in recent years. She's performed in Donizetti's Anna Bolena, Marie Stuart, Elisabetta in Don Carlo, Desdemona in Verdi's Othello, Puccini's Modern Butterfly, and now, of course, also Tosca. Jonathan Tetelman, he's Chilean-born but raised in New Jersey. He just came out with an album called I think you've looked long enough at the pictures now. He just came out with an album called The Great Puccini, which won the Deutsche Grammophon Classical Music Award. Well, of course, he's a Deutsche Grammophon artist, so they may not be exactly objective. But anyway, the New York Times said the guy's a total star. That's a quote, word for word. He made his debut, he's relatively early in his career, but not a debutante totally at all. He made his New York Met debut last year as Ruggiero in La Rondine, and then as Pinkerton in Madame Butterfly. And he's already played the role of Cavaradossi in Tosca for the Houston Grand Opera. And then last year, he was on tour with the Houston Symphony, singing the tenor part in the Verdi Requiem beside the French baritone Ludovic Tézier, who's also in this performance of Tosca. So these guys have worked together. As for Tézier, he's been around a long time. He's sung all the great Verdi roles, Macbeth, Rigoletto, Simone Boccanegra. He's sung Falstaff. He's sung Germont in La Traviata, but he sings everything else as well with everybody. So this is this particular piece. This is a hit parade. If you don't know Puccini and you want to find out if it might appeal to you, well, this would be an excellent way to test that out. Now, we go from that then to Thursday evening, when you can hear, if you don't want, if an entire opera is too much for you, then you can just get some Puccini arias on Thursday evening, the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra will be doing a program of Puccini arias with Paul O'Neill, tenor, and Eliza Boom, soprano. And let me show you a photograph of Paul and Eliza, so you know who I'm about to be talking about. Paul is a tenor, and both of these people are from down under. Paul first studied, got a Bachelor of Performing Arts at Western Australia Academy of Performing Arts. And he was a young artist at the West Australian Opera. But then an opera foundation sent him to Covent Garden in the UK to get some European polish. And he ended up singing as a regular at the Berlin Staatsoper, where he sung, all the roles. Der Rosenkavalier, Augustin Moser, Kunz, Vogelsang, and Die Meistersinger von Nürnberg, etc., etc. And he has upcoming roles singing he sings both in Australia, like with Opera Australia, but then he also sings on a regular basis with European opera houses. So he's kept his hand in on both continents. Eliza she's a Munich-based lyric soprano now, and was with the Bavarian Staatsoper opera studio for several years. Now she's working as a guest artist mostly, but she's from New Zealand. And she got her training there at Vision College and at the University of Waikato. But then she went to the UK and studied, was in Birmingham and went to the what's called the Royal Northern College of Music, and also at the National Opera Studio in London. So she has an interesting concert repertoire that includes things like Mahler's symphonies and the Brahms's and Deutsches Requiem and Strauss's Vier letzte Lieder, the four last songs. And she too works both with European opera houses in Hanover, the Royal Danish Opera too, the Stuttgart Staatsoper opera, and but also with New Zealand companies. So this should be a lovely evening for you to enjoy. If you want to know what's on the program, I can tell you a little bit about the program. They'll start out with the Verdi overture from La Forza del Destino, and then play the Mascagni intermezzo from Cavalleria Rusticana. That la di 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 di. It's such a lovely piece. I used it repeatedly in a play that I adapted and performed for a number of years in France at the Avignon Theatre Festival, and people just got all choked up. I can't hear it without getting all choked up. And then they'll do a selection of arias and scenes from La Bohème, from Madame Butterfly, from Tosca, from Turandot. It'll include Mi ci amano, Mimi, and O Suave Fanciulla, and O mio babino caro, and of course Nessun Dorma. You can't leave that out in any from Turandot in any great opera aria evening. So I commend that to you. That's two opportunities for you to hear Puccini this week, either full blast or en miette, as the French would say, getting some crumbs of it. Nobody lives forever. No artist, however legendary, is with us forever. We're all mortal. Saturday night may be your last chance to see two legendary artists of the last 60 years. Daniel Barenboim, the conductor, the pianist, and to me especially, the peacemaker. And Martha Argerich, an incomparable pianist herself, but one who has always shunned the limelight. They'll be live streamed by Stage Plus with the Berlin Philharmonic. Daniel Barenboim is, of course, the honorary conductor of that orchestra. I'll tell you a little bit about his history with him. Barenboim and Argerich were child prodigies when they were both like 8 years old, 70 years ago, back in the 1940s and 50s. They both came from Jewish families in Argentina. They both made their way to Europe. They'll be doing Beethoven's Concerto for Piano and Orchestra No. 1 in C major, Opus 15, with Martha at the piano, and Brahms's Symphony No. 4 after that, the Symphony in E minor, Opus 98, a majestic symphony that I'm sure Barenboim will do a great job with. Barenboim, is a pianist himself and has performed his whole life. So if anybody knows how to be on both sides of the conductor's baton for doing a piano concerto, it's Daniel Barenboim. So I'm sure this is going to be quite something to hear. He made his debut with the Berlin Phil back in 1964 as a pianist, and only became a conductor there later. He was the first person to take the Berlin Phil on a tour of Israel. And he was the one who conducted the orchestra at the fall of the Berlin Wall in November 1989. Perhaps his greatest accomplishment was getting together with the Palestinian intellectual Edward Said. Back in 1999, they formed the West Eastern Divan Orchestra with Palestinian and Israeli musicians. And eventually, almost 20 years later, they finally founded the Barenboim Said Academy to train such musicians in 2015 in Berlin. He may be one of the few people on the planet who has both Israeli citizenship and honorary Palestinian citizenship since 2008. He's a man of peace. He's a peacemaker, and we can't have enough of them in this time of endless wars. Martha Argerich is 83 years old. I know I keep pronouncing her name differently. She too is practically a legend. She won the 7th International Chopin Festival Piano Competition in Warsaw in 1965 at age 24. I like to give you pictures of both people, but in this case, I just want to give you two pictures of Martha Argerich, then and now. She's 83 years old now. But I want to read you something that The Guardian wrote when she performed Franz Liszt's first piano concerto with Daniel Barenboim at the helm at the BBC Proms in 2016. The Guardian wrote, "It was an unforgettable experience. Argerich celebrated her 75th birthday in June this year, but her playing is still as dazzling, as frighteningly precise as it has always been. Her ability to spin gossamer threads of melody as matchless as ever. This was unmistakably and unashamedly Liszt in the grand manner, with Barenboim in the orchestra following each twist and turn, every little quickening and movement of expressive reflection." Well, it isn't often that you hear such high praise and you get a chance to see two such artists who work so well together, work well again together. And it's especially serious just now because the BBC reported just a couple of weeks ago on some tweets that came out from Daniel Barenboim. He's got a serious neurological condition. He's canceling concerts, and he's going to be canceling more right and left because he's got to take care of himself. He said in the tweet, "I have lived all my life in and through music, and I will continue to do so as long as my health allows me to do." So this may be literally your last chance to see Daniel Barenboim in person or via a live stream. It may be banal to point it out, but this is a Stage Plus live stream, so the cost is €9.90 or $11 to purchase a minimum 1 week subscription to their website. But if you do so, however serious this is, you actually will get two concerts, because if you do it on Monday, if you did it on Monday in order to watch Daniel Harding in the Stage Plus live stream of Tosca, then you get this live stream as well. So each of them only cost you about $4.50, and this is priceless music to get for only $4.50. This is Douglas Torrell in the play that he wrote and performs, The American Soldier. It's being live streamed free of charge by the Kennedy Center Millennium stage this Saturday at 6 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, midnight European time, and 8 in the morning Sunday morning in Australia. What Douglas Torrell did is he did enormous amounts of research on letters from American military veterans and their families going all the way back to the American Revolution and forward to the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. And for those who were alive in these later years, he did interviews with them. It's a piece about the internal struggles and problems that soldiers face when returning home from combat and the sacrifices made by our veterans and their families. I want to read you something that Doug had to say about the play. He said, "My play is not a political play, but rather a profoundly human story, a piece of theater that has been made to honor our veterans and their families and deepen our collective understanding of their experiences." It's been previously performed, not all that much, a couple of times at the Kennedy Center, a few times off Broadway, at the Library of Congress, at the New York Federal Reserve Bank. It did get a nomination for an Amnesty International award, so it can't be beating the war drum too much, I don't think, in this time when we desperately need peace. There are 14 characters in it, starting with the revolutionary soldier freezing at Valley Forge, but that's not like, they're not told in chronological order. Some of the other characters are a grieving mother remembering her son and how he died in Vietnam, a World War II veteran in the Bronx, an Iraqi veteran addicted to the adrenaline of war, a father mourning his son who committed suicide from the Iraq War, a Latino or soldier dealing with the loss of his limb and his wife helping him to stand up again. And I think it concludes, well, it doesn't conclude, but towards the end, there's a Civil War soldier writing his final letter to his wife. So I'm a man of peace. I chose a life in the performing arts rather than a life in some other form of more conflictual, because I chose to live a life of creation rather than one of destruction. So it means a lot to me when what the arts can contribute to peace. Because if you ask me, we either communicate and understand each other, or we slaughter each other. And I'm in favor, of course, of communicating rather than even slaughter. So that's what I have for you this week. I spent a lot of time talking about only 4 pieces, but all 4 pieces surely deserved being discussed in some detail. I want to remind you that whenever you're watching a live stream, there's a living artist or artists who are pouring out their hearts, minds, and souls to create an experience of truth and beauty for you and everyone else in the audience, whether you're physically present or whether you're present remotely, and that social experience is fundamental to our common humanity. I encourage you to share in it for your own good, for your own enjoyment, and for the good of all of us. Subscribe to Access Arts Live on YouTube especially, and you'll be sure to get all of our announcements. That we don't just do these longer ones on Monday and Friday, we do shorter ones all during the week. So to remind you, because it's so easy to forget about the performing arts when you're busy doing all the productive things you have to do in your life to keep going. Ciao for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye.